Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fandom Forum. I'm your host, Joe Compton. The Strands, formed late 2011, have been gaining critical acclaim with their genre-defying sound that they like to call artisanal. Often described as mesmerizing, they put an emphasis on thoughtful and provocative lyrics. The Strands' groove as lead singer, British soul singer Amanda Campbell delivers their original material with passion, alongside West Coast Blues Hall of Famer Richard Green on lead guitar, playing elegant and restrained rhythms and solos, is Strands founder Paul on bass. Joining the band for LA gigs and recording is Lance Tamahana, who has been holding down the groove since he was 12 years old. Emily Ashenfelter recently joined the band, replacing longtime member Susan Ferrari on keys and background vocals. The Strands released their first album, Rough Out There, just a couple years ago. It's been a couple years, but they're back with their brand new album, Freshly Cut. And we're here to talk all about it and give you an idea of why you should go and get this album. And the fans joining me to discuss this here today are...
Hi, I'm ANITA Stewart, also known as AF Stewart. I write horror and fantasy and all that stuff. And I have very eclectic music tastes, and one of them being jazz and rock and roll and a whole bunch of other stuff. Only the one thing not much of a fan of is country music.
Hello, I'm DEBRA PARMLEY. I'm a romance novelist. I also used to work as a travel consultant, and I've traveled a lot of places. One of the things I liked to do was to bring back folk stories and folk music, and I like music from all around the world, so my tastes are very eclectic as well. And it's going to be fun chatting tonight because this group was brand new to me, so I had a lot of fun discovering it. Thanks, Joe.
Hi, my name's SANDRA HURST. I'm an epic fiction writer, fantasy, romance, a little bit of everything. I also listen to absolutely everything and always have, anything from opera to country music to blues, jazz, 80s metal. If it has music, I'll listen to it. So I'm really excited to see what everybody thought of this album because, again, it was a group that I had never heard of.
Yeah, so just to give a little background so that everybody has a little background on who they are, this is the Strands. They're from Los Angeles, although Amanda Campbell, the lead singer, is actually British. She is classically trained. She has she's got a very unique voice, and we'll talk about that as well. So what did everybody think initially of the music and the album itself, and talk a little bit about just the feeling you got from it?
Well, I found it was very mellow and more in the vein of smooth jazz than classical, which is okay. You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that or anything. But yeah, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of kind of the 70s vibe.
Nice.
Really enjoyed listening to this album. And sometimes an album will bring things to my mind imaginatively. This album did that. And also, I felt like it was a blend of jazz and blues. Definitely I hear blues in it, feel blues in it. And I live just outside Memphis, so there's a lot of blues right here. And New Orleans isn't that far. I've been both places and listened to lots of music. It's a nice blend of the two where one doesn't overpower the other. And during the time I was listening to this album, we were getting a lot of rain. And listening to the music really went well with that. It was a flow, kind of a flow with the elements and the listening. So I had a real good experience checking out this new album.
I found it interesting that you said that the lead singer was from England because I could definitely hear that and that she was classically trained. I got a Sade kind of feeling off of her.
Yeah. Her personal hero is Amy Winehouse. So
I think I could hear that.
Yeah, a little bit of that gravel in her voice, you know, that interesting uniqueness to it, right?
Take it all the way.
what did you guys all think of the musicianship? Did you think that this was a very well put together album? Did you feel like the production value didn't scream indie if you didn't know that it was already indie?
Oh yeah, it was well done, well crafted album. I'll definitely say that, because I mean, and I thought the vocals were excellent, and the music. I mean, I had no fault at all with the craftsmanship and the musical, the technical stuff of it. It was great. I mean, and I will agree with that it was very relaxing and very kind of go with the flow sort of music. And if you like that, I would definitely recommend it.
I think, for one thing, like, I'm not a musician, but for me, the big thing is that the music didn't take you out of the album. There was never anything that was so jarring or overpowering that you lost that smooth, grab your cup of coffee, sit in the rain vibe that the whole thing gave you.
I listened to it about 3 times. The first time was just to listen and relax and enjoy. And it went with the rain really well that time. The second time I was listening for the wording, because it's a bit of poetry in there too. It's some songs that are out there are really not poetry, and this felt very much like poetry. So I felt like the wording would have done just as well on a page as it does within the music. And then the third time I listened just kind of to refresh, so we were going to talk about it. And so I would try to remember, what I had thought about the first 2 times. Each time I came to it was a little bit different. But what carried through it all was the smoothness. The layout of the songs within the album, there wasn't any song that made me say, oh, we're doing something else now. They all flow together pretty well, although each is different. And I like that. You can just relax and listen to it if you want.
Did you all absorb it in chunks, or did you happen to kind of just absorb it all at once? Do you feel like the arrangement led itself into the next song that you could easily flow into it, or did you skip around?
I went in order. But yeah, the songs flowed right into one another. I mean, it's easily an album you can put on the background and just let it go and just listen to it, as opposed to, just stopping and starting or whatever, or listening to a certain song. I found that it was good in that way of just turning it on and letting it play.
The first time I turned it on and let it play and just kind of let that in the rain just kind of was a nice blend, really. The second time, because I was listening for the wording, I stopped and started. I did listen in sequence, but I stopped and started more so that I could pause in between and think, what is this song trying to say? What is the poetry in it saying? And the third time was a little bit more imaginative than I thought it would be, because I'd already done the analytical part, so I could just relax again. So that was kind of nice.
Nice.
I find, like Deborah said, every time I went through this album, and I've done it a couple of times, it was a different experience. The first time it was listening to it to listen to it. Did I like it? What did I think? Was it what I thought it was? I was being quite analytical with it. The second time through, I just put it on and felt it. And the feeling that comes from it is very much smooth. It's very relaxing. It's comforting, even though in some places the words are challenging and they're beautifully written.
Is there a favorite song that you guys keep going back to? Is there one that you will play a few times over now?
Well, there was one, but of course I can't remember the title of it.
I was about to say that.
It's the one that I mentioned to you in the chat.
I jotted down the titles, so we've got The Time Is Right to Love. I felt like that one was very restful, The poetry in it was about timing and patience and the growth of love. And it went well with rain because of the growth aspect of rain. You know, you get the rain and then the plants are growing.
The time is right for love.
And then the second song, Change of Heart, that refrain, we're not on easy street today. That kind of stuck in my head a little bit. I wouldn't have had to write that down to remember it.
We're not on easy street today, don't you agree? We're not on easy street.
The third song, Everything Can't Always Go Your Way, had a nice bluesy aspect. Like I said, I'm living in the Memphis area. I hear a lot of blues. I really liked that one. New Tunes was jazzy and bluesy and was a very emotional song, I felt. That gotta find new tunes to love. You know, it's about finding someone new to love, and it made me think about how old songs will bring people to mind for us when we've moved on. And that's true. We need new songs when we have new love.
New tunes to love, yeah. I gotta turn the dial, find myself a new station.
Same Old Dream, that was the fifth song. Now that one had piano, sort of a nightclub feel to it. I mean, I could picture her singing that in a nightclub. About 2 minutes in, there were guitar riffs, and it was real nice and smooth. I liked that one. Anytime was bluesy, and Take It All the Way was bluesy. That one I sort of felt like was an alluring song. I was picturing that nightclub again, but this time there's a siren singing in the nightclub. Like I said, my imagination could kind of go on some of these. Riding Out the Storm, that's the eighth song. That one, I thought about Shelter in the Rain and the anchor when it's rough at sea and how that went with the rain outside. You can see how the elements were really enhancing my experience of the music. That one also had guitar and piano about 2 minutes in. That was a very romantic song. Being a romance writer, of course, I was drawn to that one.
Hold my hand and stand real close to me. There must be another way. And on days with gentle breezes in your eyes, I'll guess we beat all the odds.
The last song, though, Tear Down the Walls. Tear Down the Walls, you know, it's tearing down walls of hatred and fear and how love trumps power. That song was a little different from the others because that was more of a, well, the other songs could be about relationships between a couple. Whereas that last song was more about a everybody kind of song, let's tear down the walls kind of song. So it wasn't really a romantic song, but it wasn't jarring. So if you haven't listened to that music yet, don't let what I say let you think that'll be jarring, because it wasn't. It's just a different song from the others in the album.
I found that one. That's the one that you mentioned, Anita, by the way, is Tear Down the Walls.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
I found that one to have more of a Politico kind of feel to it. Like it was more of a happenstance political as opposed to the emotional connections that she's created with a lot of the other songs. You know, a lot of the other songs are almost like singing to your lover kind of love songs, and this one had like a really powerful message behind it.
Yeah, and I like the kind of the up-tempo, darker vibe to it too. So yeah.
Tear down the walls, let everyone hear. We don't have to live like this.
I think my favorite song on the album has to be that one, We're Not on Easy Street Today. because it hit just the right tone on the right day when things weren't on easy street at this house. And it was so perfect for where things were right then, because there are times when it's just not easy. It doesn't matter if it's relationship, finances, trying to find the next chapter in a plot that's just gone somewhere you have no idea. And it's just not easy. And sometimes you've just got to take that step back and say, okay, well, why did I expect it to be?
That's awesome. As artists, I don't know your processes, but if you use music, would this be something that you would see at a certain point in what you're writing be beneficial to you in terms of having that in the background? Is that something that you would consider?
I don't use music, but yeah, if I did, it would be.
I don't use it in the background while I write if there's words in the songs, because it gets in the way, and I don't want their words to get into my writing. But I listen to music before I write to kind of get into the mindset to set me where I'm at. I write all different sorts of things. I might be writing in the Wild West one day, the 1920s another day. I might be writing futuristic the next day, a contemporary the next day. So my music varies. This album, I would say for me, these were songs of imagination and transportation, because I could see her singing them or see a scene and it would pull me there. So sort of a magiportation, if you want to blend those two, maybe imagination and transportation. I don't know if that's a word, but if not, let's make it one, Magiportation. For me, that's what it was.
I love it. We coined a new word here today. I love it.
Different than Anita and Deborah, I do write with music. I have to have the background right to get into what I'm doing. What I'm doing right now is epic fantasy, so it wouldn't fit there. But I'm also working on a 1930s jazz blues.
Oh, there you go.
And there you go. And yeah, I can see her on the stage in the concert. 1930s torch singer.
Mm-hmm. Did any of you look them up or go further beyond just listening to the album? Did you go to their website or anything like that and check them out beyond this? Or
no, I wanted to do it all just cold, so I wouldn't be influenced in any way but what somebody else might have said.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I did think about it, but no, I didn't go. Too busy, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I would say that I was doing it because that I didn't look them up because I wanted to do it cold, but no, I was enjoying what I was listening to and just kind of didn't think about it.
Nice. So, Deborah, especially, I'm kind of curious. Would you, if they were in New Orleans or in Memphis, you think they would fit right into that environment?
I think they would. I think they're bluesy enough to fit right in here or to fit into New Orleans, because it's a blend. And of course, musically, Memphians love music. We have that. Memphis in May has a huge festival, all different kinds of stages and all different kinds of music. So it's not just blues here. But yeah, they should definitely come to Memphis.
There was something in, especially Amanda's voice, that reminded me of the New Orleans Jazz Vipers.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And I could see them fitting into that New Orleans jazz blues scene.
That's awesome. Now, I mean, obviously, if they went to Nova Scotia, that would be something of an amazement, wouldn't it, Anita? But
I don't know. We do have some little jazz and blues clubs in Halifax, so they might fit in.
There's some great musicians coming out of America.
Although they certainly would not fit the Celtic circuit, no.
If they came to your hometown, like literally, like really close to you, where you didn't have any inconvenience, would you go see them? Would that be something you're interested in?
Oh, yeah. Actually, Memphis in May would be a good choice for them because so many people go. So they'd have lots of people that, they go from stage to stage and they check out different acts, and they're there for the whole day. And these are music lovers because they come for the whole weekend. And it would be a good way to introduce themselves to Memphis and the people that come here to listen to music.
Amanda's got a great voice. I loved her voice.
I loved her voice, and I also loved the storytelling aspect of the songs and the poetry. So the songwriters, I would like to say, well done.
Was that the defining factor for you? Was the songwriting, or was there something else that you really gravitated toward? That?
Well, I liked the music also, both. It's just rare to find that type of poetry within song lyrics, because poetry and song lyrics aren't always the same thing, and poetry is not an easy thing to write.
Yeah.
And then you're putting it with music. That's not easy either. So, yeah.
But I think it's the poetry in it that lifts it above other albums of the same type or same genre and makes it something that the lines stick in your head. Like, we're not on easy street today. That's something that is stuck now. It'll come back when I need to hear that, because the words mean more, because they're put with the music that's done so beautifully.
And Anita, you'll attest to this. I mean, poetry sticks with you like that, right? There's just that one line or that one thing that you remember from that, and it comes out in the weirdest spots, right?
And it's even harder when you're doing it as a song, believe me, because I've tried to write songs and I can't.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can write poems, but not songs.
So for somebody who would stumble upon this, just searching for jazz or searching for something, what would you say would be the thing that you would recommend to them about this album? What would you say to that person asking you, what am I in for when I listen to this?
I would say that the music is poetry and it's storytelling in a bluesy sort of way blended with jazz. That's how I would describe it.
I'd say good music and a nice mellow jazz tone to it.
Mm-hmm. I think for somebody who enjoys the 70s mellow jazz style, the smooth jazz, Sade, you're in for a treat.
Oh, I'd just like to say thank you for sharing the album with me. It was fun to discover the new group and the songs, and I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, it was a pleasure listening to it.
Definitely.
I will say one thing about the Strands that always struck me very right off the bat when I met them. When they sent me music to start, and that's how I got introduced to them. And the one thing that really struck me was the depth in which they went to present something that you normally get something that sounds not alike, but has the same tone or has the same kind of vibe to it. And when you get those kind of things all the time, you kind of take for granted the depth and the interest of that particular piece. And I think this one never did that for me. It struck me right away. There was lyrics in there. There was definitely beats and like DEBRA said, there's songs that start with a piano and then the guitar slowly creeps in the second or third minute, or into the second stanza. Even there's songs that start with a little guitar riff or a little bass riff and then bring in and incorporate it. So they mix it up so well, and they do it so amazingly in that respect, because that's what strikes you right away, and that's what I think I personally get from them. I don't know if everybody here would agree with that, but I think that it's very interesting because it is a smoother jazz. It is a lighter tone, but it does have this deep seated, rooted meanings, as we've discussed here today with the poetry and everything. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you ladies for joining me and doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm so glad that you all enjoyed this, and I hope that we have 3 new Strands fans here, and we hope that this will bring more to the table, and just to let everybody know where they can find each of you.
My books are under Sandra HURST on Amazon. I have a new release coming out in April. Yay. And You can always find me through Facebook, through Twitter, through my website, which is delusionsofliteracy.com.
All right, I'm DEBRA PARMLEY, and you can find me, of course, on my website, debraparmley.com, Facebook, oh gosh, all the places, I'm even on Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter. I've got a YouTube channel, and just all over.
My books are under AF Stewart, and you can find me most often over on Facebook in my group, AF Stewart's Minions, or on Twitter under @Scribe77. And I have a website, Welcome to Avalon. So,
And I'm Joe Compton, and this is GoIndieNow, and this was Fandom Forum, The Strands, freshly cut. Thank you all for participating, being here, and I hope that you go out there and check this album out. Check out the amazing sounds of The Strands, and remember that it's always time to go indie now. And with that, we'll see you again soon. All right, everybody, take care.
I've been hashtagging younger, older is the new younger. I really like to see people appreciate that people of all ages can make great music and not see this focus on youth all the time, because especially lyrically, we have a wealth of experience that is evident in our lyrics.
Hatred and fear. Tear down the walls, let everyone hear. We don't have to live like this anymore. You don't have to live with this anymore. Rip up your secrets that keep us apart. Spit out your regrets and make a new start. What's in your heart in the darkest hour? Breaking pieces of the prison tower. I believe when they say that love trumps power. Love trumps power. But it doesn't seem that way. No, it doesn't seem that way. You don't have to live with this anymore.